This video will show you how to authorize an agile round within your full initial funding round. So if you go to the platform, you can see under services, we have funding rounds, which has both the full initial funding round and authorizing an agile round. Now, you will need to start with initial funding round if you've never done a funding round before, and you can only do an agile round if you've done the full initial funding round, as you bind those new investors in an agile round to your existing paperwork that we create in the full initial funding rounds. But what we'll show in this video is how you can do that agile authorization, so this step, as part of this full initial funding round, to save you having to go to all those shareholders and new investor shareholders after the first funding round. But just to show you, you have funding rounds, ASAs, and share options. If you are just signing up to Founder Catalyst and want to do that full initial funding round, which you need to do before doing an agile round, you would click here to start the initial funding round. You can see it split into 4 sections. You have step 1, which is where we're defining all the terms in the paperwork. When you're then happy with that paperwork, which you can review in the data room, you would then be able to invite investors in step 2. If they're happy with all the paperwork, and they've all onboarded onto the platform, you can lock the documents for signature, as is explained here, and that will push everyone to sign all the paperwork. Once all signed, those investors will be nudged to send the funds, and you mark them as received in the platform, triggering the platform to issue share certificates and closing the round. So it's in this step 1 defining that you're also able to set up those additional new shares that would be issued in an agile funding round, so that you don't have to go back after the funding round and then do a whole new agile authorization. By signing this paperwork, you and your current shareholders and any of those investors coming in are authorizing a certain number of shares to be issued in an agile round. So it's within this first section, round specifics. So here you set things like pre-money valuation and so on, and we have a video covering all the different fields in this section. But there's this bit here where you get to what amount do you want to raise in an agile round. Now you can leave this blank, you don't have to fill this in. But as I said, it's giving you more flexibility to just be able to open an agile round because you've already done all the authorization by signing this paperwork. So we could put in, for example, £1 million. The platform will then calculate the minimum share price, and based off that, the number of shares that need to be issued to get to £1 million, and will also set a deadline. So this minimum share price is set at the price paid in this funding round. So we've got in our cap table, let's have a look, 2,666 shares. Pre-money valuation was 1.5 million. So if we do 1.5 million divided by 2,666, so we got a share price of £562.64 in this round. So all these things here that are being pulled in by the platform, these are all investor protections. So the founder's saying, I want to be able to raise £1 million in an agile round. Investors, by signing this shareholders agreement, are going to approve that. As an investor, there's a few things I would care about. So the first thing is that if I've paid £562.64 in this round and I put in £100,000, what I don't want is the founder to open the agile round and sell shares for £200 a share. So there will be a minimum price set, but the founder can, over time or however they want, increase and change that share price. So you've got flexibility to change the share price over the period that the agile round is open. The other thing investors will care about is dilution. So they know the potential impact of that, because the maximum number of shares that can be issued is 1,777. And investors will also care about there being a kind of deadline for this. So you can't just do this for 5 years and still be selling shares at the same price that was paid in the initial round. So the maximum is usually maximum is a year, but usually you'll see these open for 6 months. But you can set that deadline there, and obviously if your investors agree to have it open for up to a year, then that's absolutely fine. So if I move on and just save that this time, and if we go into the data room, you will be able to see that. So if we take the subscription and shareholders agreement, it will be called additional new shares. So there you can see 1,777 additional shares for at least £562.64p. So that is where it's pulling into.